Okay, welcome Real Progressive Love Warriors. I'm Geoff Ginter with Real Progressives. I have a very special guest today. I'm really excited. Dr. Michael Rushnack. I've been thinking for a while that I wanted to be able to speak to people like myself in the healthcare industry who have real tactile knowledge about the ramifications of the for-profit healthcare industry. They say, when I say they, I'm talking Republicans, I'm talking corporate Democrats, I'm talking anyone that supports health insurance, as a means of delivering healthcare, a means of paying for it. They will always say that we have the best healthcare in the world here in the United States. I don't understand how they can say that with a straight face. I don't get it. I'm not saying that we don't have excellent doctors. I'm not saying we don't have excellent technicians. I'm not saying we don't have excellent facilities. We have all this. We have an abundance of talent in this country. But they have all of them been usurped for a different purpose other than healing the sick, other than forget about preventing disease. They have been usurped for the purposes of making profit, of making money. They have monetized your pain. They have monetized the pain of your families, your loved ones who have to watch it happen again and again and again. And if we have such a great healthcare system in this country, tell me how it is that you can call it great when 45,000 people will die every year because they couldn't access healthcare. How great can it possibly be if we have upwards of 220,000 people, conservatively, 220,000 people dying every year because of medical errors? It is now the third leading cause of death in the United States. All of this, the direct result of for-profit healthcare. How can that possibly be great? Put simply, it's not. Right now, I'm looking for my guest. Let's see, is he on here? Nope, I don't see him just yet. Dr. Rushnack, if you can hear me, you may want to quit out and come back in. In the meantime, we will be here. If you are on the stream, Dr. Rushnack, if you can see me, or if you want to just simply make a comment, let me know that you're here. Maybe I can't see you. Okay, as of right now, I don't see him. It is my hope that he comes on soon. I will keep an eye out for him. Okay. But one of the things I'm really hoping to be able to get everyone's attention to is a doctor's perspective. What does it mean to be told by an insurance company that you can't prescribe this medication and that you can't do this particular procedure or that you can't do this test? There are a lot of pressures being placed upon doctors. And I've heard it said many times, that doctors make too much money. I've heard that said a lot. And I got to do some pushback on that. I'm going to push back a lot on the concept of that healthcare is too expensive, especially to the tune that doctors contribute to that by demanding too much money. We begin that particular story with the cost of education. Right now, it costs an incredible amount of money just to be able to get your bachelor's degree in computer science. It's incredibly expensive, much more so than it was for our parents' generation and for their generation prior to them. Imagine what it's going to be for a doctor. By the time you're all said and done, by the time you've gone through first round of college, medical school, residency, by the time you've finished your education, you are hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, if you were already rich, if you already came from a rich family, maybe that doesn't mean much. But at the very least, should we not insist that for a profession as revered as medicine, for a profession as important as medicine, your life is literally on the line, should we not insist that we pool from a much greater population than just simply those who are already massively rich and can afford such an education? How is that not a no-brainer? So clearly the cost of education has to come down, but in the meantime, we have developed an entire generation of doctors who have fallen prey to this type of predatory lending, who have fallen prey to the excesses of cost in our educational system, and have now become prey to those that wish to monetize your life, your death, your sickness, your health. Most doctors, very much want to be doctors. They very much want to serve humanity. They got into this business for a reason, so that they could save people. But they are human, and there are a growing number of doctors who have found a way, as they are being pressured from above, from hospital administrators and insurance companies, as they are being pressured from above to produce more and more and more and more. Crank it out. That means less time with patients. That means diagnoses missed. Some of them are learning how to play the system, and they are learning how to make more for themselves. They are still very much in the minority, but they are growing. We have an opportunity now to push back on that tide. But the point here is not that doctors make too much. In many cases, doctors don't make enough. What is your life worth? One of the things that Republicans and libertarians and all these people will tell you, and something that I agree with a huge caveat, is that if we pay everyone like we pay Medicare, that Medicare reimbursements are too small, and that we will not be able to attract the most talented people because they won't make as much money. They'll know it going in. Why would they bother? To that I say two things. One, fuck you. People get into medicine to save lives. Talented people get into medicine to save lives. You are supposing that your talent is going to also turn you into an asshole. That you will only work if you will be met with a certain financial threshold. Right now we have manufactured a need, as I mentioned, with the immense amount of student loan debt. We have manufactured a need for doctors to go down that road. And once they do, some of them do develop a taste for it. Most don't, some do. But again, what is your life worth? Shouldn't we compensate doctors and healthcare professionals commensurate to the value we place upon their profession? If you ask an insurance company to do that, they won't. If you ask a private industry to do that, they won't, because they are in the business of making money for themselves. CEOs will get all that money. Shareholders will get that money. A doctor to an insurance company is just a vendor, just an employee. They don't make the cut. Is Medicare not doing enough? Are they not spending enough? In my opinion, no, they're not. And largely that's because they're not trying to compete with private industry. They're not trying to put themselves in a position whereby you're going to make less money, because government, as run by the people we have been sending there, the neoliberals we have been sending there, don't want to compete with private industry. They want private industry to make as much profit as it can. And like I said, if profit is the name of the game, they will put money in their pockets before they'll put it in yours. That's true across the board. So Medicare does not have generous payouts, but they do pay out. Doctors who love Medicare love it because they don't have to worry about it. They just simply bill and they get the money back. Every other insurance company known to man, woman, and child puts up speaking of a child, puts up a tantrum every time that you're supposed to be reimbursed for your efforts. They don't want to do it. They don't want to pay. They don't want to pay you. They don't want to pay anyone. They want to keep that money for themselves. That's why they got into business. Doctor got into this so they can save lives. Insurance companies got into it so they can make money. So Medicare does not pay out as much, but they could and they should, because to the insurance company, there's only so much money to go around. They want to keep it for themselves. To a state, there's only so much money to go around, and they need to be able to spend it wisely to be able to cover as much as possible. To the federal government, there is no money because they have all that they're ever going to need to make at the point of purchase. They don't have or not have money. Every time they decide to spend, they write a bill, president signs it, boom, the money is created out of thin air. So if they decide that insurance is no longer going to be part of the healthcare equation, we are going to make a better system. We're going to expand Medicare. We have the infrastructure to do it. We're just going to spend more on it. So doctors will get more. I would much rather have my doctor be very happy in his or her compensation, happy in his or her work environment. Let's have more doctors so they can each see more patients but less individually. Just like a classroom. I don't want one teacher for 30 kids. How about one teacher for 10 kids? Just get more teachers. Same thing with doctors. Let's get more doctors. Let's train them. Let's import them if we have to. Let's give them a better life. Let's give them better compensation. Let's give them better work environment. Happy doctor, happy patient. I'm going to see if he's on yet. I still don't see him. Still don't see him. Okay. Well, again, Dr. Rushnak, if you're here, please sign on and comment so I can see that you're here. Yes, cancel student loan debt. Absolutely. Again, I have to say this. There is no way that we are going to be able to tackle all the problems that we have in this country, all the problems that neoliberalism, libertarianism, all these isms have created, and do it simply, i.e. do just one thing and boom, it's all done. No, we need to do several things. We need to be able to end student loan debt as it exists right now. And we can. We need to be able to make college free for everyone that wants to go. And we need to revolutionize education. Right now we have cookie cutter education. If you are not academically inclined and you are in school, and I see this every day, you are left out. You are done. Everyone understands that No Child Left Behind is one of the most ironic names ever done because it has left a lot of children behind. Not everyone is going to be academically inclined, but they are intelligent. They are smart. They have talents. And school is not helping them discover what those are. We could do so much more than just simply education and vocational. Or at least we could expand the idea of what vocational is. How many people went to the movies this last weekend? How many people took in a show? Or how many people wish they would have if money were no object? Would they not have done that? How many people have watched, a movie and, looked at how much it made in the box office in the first month, and just how many hundreds of millions of dollars it made? That's the economy. That is someone's income. MMT always clearly states someone's spending is someone's income. If you spend money on a movie, if you spend money on a concert, someone got that money. That is someone's income. How is it that we can have an industry that creates hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in sales, and then also look down our noses at actors and singers and musicians and dancers and the technicians that support all these noble endeavors? How is it that there are almost never any loans or bursaries to be able to send you to art school? That is considered superfluous. Education needs to be overhauled, completely overhauled, to actually include everyone, the whole child. Now imagine what kind of society we can have if the people that we are sending to school, the little children, the next generation, are actually going to be educated, free thinkers, critical thinkers, creative thinkers, to be able to handle what's coming next. The unimaginable challenges that we can't even begin to think of. We want to be able to educate children to not be able to handle that? I don't think so. So we change the educational system. We make it free because we can. We change the healthcare system so that no one ever has to worry about their health and whether it's going to impoverish them or not. The leading cause of bankruptcies in this country are healthcare related. You have to understand that most people in this country cannot afford the healthcare that they need. They can't afford so much as a $500 emergency. We can't afford to be in debt. We, the individual, corporations can't afford to be in debt. States can't afford to be in debt. We can't afford to be in debt. Why? Because we don't create our own currency. And we could not possibly enforce anyone to accept our currency in payment for anything if we did. But who does? The federal government. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. They create the currency, they set its value, and they enforce the need for that currency through taxation. So anything that needs to be paid for in this country, fully, completely, that doesn't need to have a revenue stream or worry that it's going to make actual profits off of its investment, it's got to be done by the federal government. That's why single-payer health care is dicey at best to be left up to the states to do. The states with the biggest economies, New York, California, they can patchwork together a single-payer system, but they are going to be working within a system that only has so many dollars to work with. They will have to tax. And they will have to borrow if they want to spend beyond what they can get in taxation. So they will have to be, at best, frugal with that money and make it go as far as it can, which means not everything is going to be covered. There will be things they're going to say, I'm sorry, you're on your own for that. Or it would be nice if we could do that, but there's a cheaper alternative. It may not be as good, but this is all we can afford right now. That's not good enough. In the land of the free, the richest country in the world, that's not good enough. Cutting corners will still make sure that people die. It's as simple as that. So there are many things that can and maybe even should be left up to the states. There are some things that can and maybe should be left up to yourself entirely. But healthcare is not one of them. Doctors need to be paid. Hospitals need to be paid. Pharmaceutical companies need to be paid. Everyone needs to be well compensated for the incredible work that they are required to do to save your life, to encourage health. But they don't need to be motivated by profit. In fact, if they are motivated by profit, you lose. Every time. Once again, let's see if the good doctor is in. I don't know if he's going to make it in. There's so many I can't see. All right. So again, just to continue, if you work in healthcare, I see it, I work it every day. Doctors get to spend less and less time being doctors. They spend more and more time arguing with insurance companies, filling out forms, spending less and less time with each patient because the administrators tell them they need to produce. If we're going to change that, if we are going to save lives, if we are going to state that 300,000 people that die every year as a direct result of for-profit healthcare is unacceptable in a country that is by far the richest country in the world. And when I say the richest country in the world, be very clear about what I mean. I don't mean rich in dollars. I don't mean it's because we have more millionaires and billionaires. I mean it's because we have the richest country in real resources. We have the infrastructure to do it. And we have the capability of improving that infrastructure. We have the greatest talent, brain power in this country, and the ability to increase that power as well through education, through immigration. We have tremendous capacity that we are wasting so that rich people can become richer. And it would be unacceptable to allow it to stay that way if only 1 or 2 people were dying as a result. That would already be completely immoral. But it's not. Just 1 or 2 people. It's 300,000 people every year. It has to stop. So if I can't get Dr. Rushnak to come on, I want to put a question to everyone that's watching, to everyone that's watching right now, to everyone that will watch this later. What are you waiting for? At 300,000 people every year, eventually, if you don't know someone already who is burdened with that pain, you will very soon. 300,000 people. We got 360 million people in this country. It's a very short waiting list before you either are one of them or you know someone who is going to fall victim to them. So what are you waiting for? You got people running for Congress. Make sure they understand you are on board with single payer or you're not getting to Washington. You understand about federal finance or you're not going to Washington. Why? Because I'm not interested in feel-good candidates. I'm not interested in just simply beating Trump. Trump has to be beaten. It's a moral imperative that he be beaten. But it matters who beats him. It matters that it's going to be someone who actually understands federal finance, who is on board with single payer, who will not accept compromises, who will not accept the arguments of we can't afford it, because we can. Because it's not about money. It is about resources. For the time being, leave the rich alone, leave the military-industrial complex alone, leave Wall Street alone. We'll get to them. Don't worry, we will get to them. But in the meantime, we can't afford to waste 5 seconds in trying to harm them, in trying to take money and resources from them. There are plenty of resources to go around right now. We can save people right now. We simply have to do two things. Educate as many people as possible. The next time you hear someone say, tax dollars this, tax dollars that, they better be talking about states. Because states do need to tax. They are currency users, just like you, just like me, just like ExxonMobil, just like pharmaceutical companies. But the federal government is a currency issuer. Hang on a second, Dr. Hang on, can you respond? Yes, Cindy, I'm trying to reach him. I don't see him on my feed. In order for him to come on, I need to see him on my feed so that I can invite him on. Unfortunately, it's not happening. I'm sorry, Cindy. I hope I can see him soon. If anyone that can be in touch with him, just let him know. Just keep trying. Go to the Real Progressives Facebook page and just simply join the stream. Yeah. So, as I was saying, it's vitally important that we teach people. It's vitally important that we don't let anyone say that we need to be able to spend tax before we can spend. It is very important that we don't let that narrative stand. Why? Because if the prevailing wisdom that we need to be able to tax before we can spend is allowed to continue, we will not get single-payer health care. We will not get free college tuition. We will not get student loan forgiveness. We will not get a Green New Deal. We will not get a federal jobs guarantee. Why? Why is this true? Imagine this. There was a survey many, many years ago. I think we're talking like 20 years ago now, where they were talking about the United States flag. Do we need federal protections, a constitutional amendment to protect the flag? They wanted to make sure that it would be illegal federally for you to burn the flag in effigy. And there are several polls. I've seen this come around in my lifetime. I'm 48 years old. I've seen it come around in my lifetime as a subject matter several times. The most recently was about 20 years ago that I remember, and there were several polls, one of which said that a majority of Americans, I think it was about 60%, supported a constitutional amendment. And a lot of pundits were going around saying, well, clearly the people are behind us. We should do this. But there was another poll that was put out that said, yes, about 60% of the population do support a constitutional amendment to protect the flag. However, the vast majority of those people, because the first poll didn't ask anything more, yes or no, do you support it? The second poll asked actual questions. And it turns out that of those 60%, almost all of them didn't care that much. If you are asking me, do I care about protecting the flag? I'm going to say, yes, I do care about that. I would support a constitutional amendment. But if you're asking me to rate the importance of that on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, my God, do it now, and 1 being, I can't believe you even asked me that question, it's so stupid. Most of those 60% rated it at a 1. So on the one hand, you can say, yes, a lot of people do support this. But on the other hand, most of them think you're crazy to even consider it when we have actual problems. So when people say federal funding needs to be raised or programs cut before we can do spending, I put it in these terms. You say you don't want single-payer health care, Mr. Congressman. More specifically, my neighbor, your neighbor. You think that it's going to be too expensive. You think that it's going to cut into your taxes. I don't want my tax dollars going to fund your health care. That's your problem. Fair enough. So when you think your money is on the line, it's an important deal, right? Fair enough. That makes you one kind of person. Now, what if you were to understand that your federal tax dollars, your money, isn't going anywhere towards paying for it? In fact, your taxes could be lowered at the same time. Why? Because the federal government doesn't need your tax dollars. It needs your tax liability. It needs you to pay the tax to be able to need the money. That's what makes the whole thing go. You need to pay tax in US dollars. Ergo, you need US dollars. That's what makes the whole thing work. But they don't need your tax dollars to spend. They need your tax obligation. They don't need the actual dollars themselves. So, your tax dollars aren't going to fund for single-payer health care. Now, how much do you care? Now, how great is your opposition? It is my contention that if more people understood that their tax dollars don't fund federal spending, that the resistance to single-payer health care, to free college education, to 100% green energy goes away. Not 100%. Some people will still have actual opposition on moral reasons. But I bet we could at the very least cut it by 3/4. Self-interest will get in the way of people doing what's right. And when they realize that it's not their money that's going to go towards paying for it, suddenly self-interest becomes, well, shit, I want to have that for myself too. And with that, I think Michael is on, and there he is. Oh, God, and it's saying that he can't join. Okay. Michael, I hope if you're on a laptop that you're running with Chrome, or if you can go on with your phone, you should just need the Facebook app. Okay. Yeah, Mike, I see that you're on. I'm trying to bring you on, but it's not allowing me to. No. All right, Mike, try getting off and coming back on again, or doing those other things I suggested. You know, make sure that you're using Chrome as your browser, or if you're on your phone, just use the Facebook app. So this is why I feel it's so important to understand you're on with Chrome. And yet, can't bring you on the broadcast at this time. Okay, Michael, try quitting off and coming back on again. Mike was on the phone with me. But this is why I think it's so important. So important that if people understood, it's not your tax dollars. We're not going after your money. In fact, if everyone understood what taxes were really for, they could understand that we could absolutely pay for everything that we want, everything that we need, and then your taxes, the amount you pay, is going to be determined on the economy itself. We don't balance the books, we balance the economy. Is everyone employed? Does everyone have a good job? Are these good paying jobs? Are people spending? Are they buying things? Are we saving money? Are we saving enough? Do we have the things that we need? Yes? Do we still have goods and services? We're not competing. We have enough money and goods and services so that we have equilibrium. Great. Your taxes can be really low. I mean, like really low. As long as the government maintains its ability to enforce a tax, we will have domestic need. Everything will flow. We will have domestic demand for the dollar. We'll be able to spend what we need. We'll be able to create the society that we want. And if the economy starts to get out of balance, then we can think about ways to correct that. But right now, we have 300,000 people that die every year. And that is not counting economic austerity. That is not counting bankruptcies and suffering and homelessness, all as a result of for-profit health care. Let's try Michael one more time. Michael, I'm sorry, I still can't bring you in. It won't let me. You're back. Okay. You quit and you got back in, and it still won't let me. Huh. Okay. Unfortunately, Michael, I can see there's a whole bunch of people that I can't bring in, some that I can. I'm not really sure what that X factor is, unfortunately. If you're on your laptop, maybe if you want to try using your phone. Yes, we need to solve our tech crisis. Oh, God, yes, we do. I'm hoping to be able to get a laptop myself. I'll be able to run different programs and make this process a lot easier. My apologies, Michael. This is not good. But again, just to continue, Mike, if you want to try using a different device, if you're on a laptop, try your phone. If you're on your phone, try a laptop. Hopefully that will work better. Just to continue with what I was saying, if we can make sure that people understand it's not your tax dollars, I think we're going to get a lot of people not caring anymore. They're not going to have the opposition. In fact, they would actually start to join the rising tide of people that say we need single-payer health care. Because what are we getting? For all the money that we spend currently, right now, more than any other civilized nation, we are getting higher infant mortality rates. We are getting worse outcomes. We are getting more sickness. We have more sick people in this country than anywhere else. We have more mental health issues. I know we're still talking about a gun crisis in this country, and I will never stop talking about the gun crisis in this country. And that, like everything else, is multifaceted. It's not just the overabundance of guns in this country, but that is a huge factor. It is also the amount of mental illness in this country, which should not be a stigma. It is part of health, mental health and physical health. They go hand in hand. And Michael's on his phone now. Oh, God, Michael, I still can't bring you on. I am running out of ideas. But we have to solve the mental health crisis. And that can be covered 100% with single-payer health care. One of the biggest challenges we have with mental health is that it still has, just as an example, still has co-pays. Almost all insurances, if they cover mental health at all, and many of them don't. The ones that do give you only so many office visits per year, and you have to do a copay. If you have healthcare issues and you're going to be going to the doctor, we can average that maybe you're going to see your GP once a year. If you've got a lot of healthcare issues, maybe you'll see him 2 or 3 times a year. Your copay, on average, $20 to $30. 2 to 4 times a year, fair enough. Yeah, Mike, I think we will have to reschedule. I'm running out of time as it is. I'm so sorry about that. So you're going to see your doctor 2 to 4 times a year, $20, $30. And that is doable. That's still painful, but that's doable. But if you're there for mental health, that is, on average, once a week. It's not likely that you're going to be able to go just once a month, once or twice a year. That's not going to cut it. Mental health generally requires once a week. Sometimes it requires even more than that, depending upon what the issue happens to be. And if you still have a copay, then that really starts to add up per month. And most plans will separate primary care versus specialist in terms of the copays. Specialist is always more. Mental health is a specialist. So welcome to spending $30 to $50 per week. How many people can do $120 to $200 a month? And that's just seeing them once a week. Those kinds of numbers are the things that are going to make people have more mental health issues. Did you not hear me when I said that most people cannot afford a $500 emergency? They're not going to be able to come up with upwards of $200 a month. How are we expecting, with the rampant unemployment and underemployment that we have, the absolute poverty that we have, almost 60% of the population either in poverty or so close to it they can taste it. We got poverty, we got unemployment, we got a food crisis, food deserts all over the country, especially in rural areas. We have, mental health issues. We've got rampant sickness and disease. And an oversupply of guns. We're not going to deal with this problem simply tackling one. We have to tackle them all. But since we're not going to get to attack them all at once, we are definitely coming after the semi-automatic weapons. Don't even think for a second that we're not. Your precious Second Amendment doesn't mean what you think it means. The Supreme Court that finally affirmed that you had the right to a handgun for self-protection still said that you do not have the right to any weapon you choose. That the assault weapons ban of the 90s was, in fact, constitutional. And that was the most conservative Supreme Court justice decision in the history of the United States when it comes to the Second Amendment. All previous decisions based on the Second Amendment said that you had the right to a firearm for the purposes of joining a militia, for the purposes of being a check on the state. That's it. So if you want to deal with the gun violence issue, not to mention the mass shootings, you got to deal with the oversupply of guns, the weapons manufacturers that try to gin up fear to be able to drive up sales with their partners, the NRA. You're going to have to deal with poverty. You're going to have to deal with unemployment. You're going to have to deal with education. You're going to have to deal with healthcare. You're going to have to deal with all of it, or you won't actually fix it. But addressing any one of them would alleviate it. And all these systems exist in the disastrous state that they do because we have been told that capitalism is the greatest thing, that capitalism will actually provide everything that society needs. And it's bullshit. And I say this as one who does not hate capitalism, but capitalism has to be kept in check. Capitalism in and of itself has no compassion, no empathy. It does not care about you. As a system, it doesn't care. It exists for profits. And that is true across the board, no matter what business you are in. You are in it to make money. You have a fiduciary responsibility to make as much profit as possible. And the only way that doesn't happen is when there are regulations, when there are rules of the road. The one thing that Republicans and libertarians would rather chew off their own foot than allow to happen. Well, I've got some silverware here. Start eating. Because I'm done allowing you to run the table. You have brought misery destruction and death upon this nation and at the world at large. So we, the people, will rise up. We, the people, will play a more prominent role in how the affairs of this country are played out. You will not be able to simply have it your way. We are going to have a federal jobs guarantee. We are going to have universal health care. We are going to have green energy right now. Fossil fuels, kiss my ass. We are going to have all of it. Why? Because it's necessary. Because it is detrimental to the health of the planet not to have these things. You make all this money. You build this shiny castle. And you think that you have done this wondrous thing. But you don't look out to the world and see what you've actually created. It is high time that we look at the devastation of our cities and look at the deserts of our rural communities. Look at the sickness that has never seen the light of day on this planet in the levels that it has today with obesity and diabetes and cancers. This is what you have created. And for all the animosity I hold for you, I hold us in greater animosity because we allowed it to happen. I allowed it to happen. Oligarchs are nothing. Media companies are nothing. Politicians, less than nothing. We are the real power in this country. And we have allowed ourselves to talk ourselves out of that power. We have given deference to those that we have thought to be our betters. And the only thing that they are better at than we are is fucking over the entire world. No more. I love my family. I love my community. I love my country. And I love this planet. And I will not allow it to be desecrated, destroyed. I will not allow my family to be impoverished. I will not allow my neighbors to have their towns decimated. No more. You cannot scare me with the debt and the deficit as reasons why we can't have what we need, but you know what you're doing, and we need the military to be as big as the sun. You cannot scare me with your banking systems and tell me how complicated it is, and this is the way it must be, and I'm sorry if it works out that everyone has to be poor and you get to be rich, but you know what you're doing. You cannot scare me with that shit. I know that of the two of us, the one that's quaking in their boots is you. Because you pushed us too far. You took this too far. You could have coasted on the horrible atrocities of the 80s and the 90s. But you kept going. As we fell asleep, you got more bold. But we're awake now. We see you. And I will not stop until I've educated enough people to make sure that you will never, ever be in a position to hurt us again. I do not wish ill upon you. I do not wish death or harm or deprivation to come upon you, but I will make sure that your power is curtailed. I will make sure that you will never again be in a position to dictate terms to us. We, the people, dictate terms to you. I will not placidly allow 300,000 people to die because you want to have for-profit health care. No more. We understand now. I am awake, And I will wake up 360 million others if I have to. But I will not tolerate neoliberalism. I will not tolerate conservatism. I will not tolerate any ism. I will tolerate single-payer health care. And if you're a Republican or a Libertarian or a Democrat and you support that and you make sure that you are going to fully fund it, you have my vote. Why? Because I don't care about you. You are nothing to me. Single-payer health care is universal health care. Federally funded, fully, everything, womb to tomb. You do that, and you've got my vote. I want a federal job guarantee. I want an end to poverty. I want a war on poverty, not poor people. You will not be allowed to create poverty by creating unemployment and austerity and then criminalizing it. I will have reparations for Native Americans and African Americans. I will not allow the wounds inflicted upon this country for centuries to be swept under the rug and hope that it just goes away. Because it hasn't. It's a moral atrocity that it ever happened in the first place, and that is dwarfed by the complicity of those that don't want to take a good, hard look at it and do the right thing. And you know what makes it easy to swallow? It's that you don't have to pay a goddamn dime. The money you have, keep it. It's not about the money. It's about the resources. And you turning our heads to make sure that these resources are what you get to keep. And all the rest goes to everyone else. And by everyone else, I mean the 1%. The 1% get this, and we get that. And because we have bought into the narrative that we can't afford anything better, we fight ourselves for that narrow piece of crap. We tear ourselves to pieces for that narrow piece of crap, while you laugh at us as you enjoy the luxuries of everything else. And I can't believe that every time I turn around, I see the oligarchs and the neoliberals envy at the fact that we get to keep that much. They keep coming for more and more and more. They keep telling us that entitlement programs are what's keeping this economy down. And I couldn't agree more. But it's not Social Security and Medicare. Those are not entitlements. Those are rights. Your greed is the single greatest entitlement this country has ever seen. And it is destroying everything. And I will see it done. I will see it over. I wish you nothing but love. But you will not be in charge anymore. You bring nothing of experience to the table, lest it be the experience of how to enslave a nation. You bring nothing of moral fortitude to the table when your entire value system is based upon a lie that you are entitled to everything and everyone else can kiss your ass. No more. I fight in the trenches against insurance companies every day. And I will keep fighting. Anyway. That's my show for tonight. My apologies to Dr. Rushneck. I'm so sorry we had technical issues. I really don't know exactly from whence they came, but I hope we can work it out and reschedule for another time. So my deepest apologies there. I'm sorry, sir. Until then, I'll be back next week. Remember, each one teach one. Come back to Real Progressives. There is a wealth of educational material there. Follow the likes of Steve Grumbine, Ellis Winningham, Dr. Joe Firestone, Warren Mosler, Stephanie Kelton, my hero. I understand, Stephanie, no capes. There will be no capes. You know, Pavlina Petrova, Mike Norman. Get educated on federal finance. Do not be distracted by people who will say that the Federal Reserve is really what's in control. Read the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. It'll tell you exactly who's in charge and who's not. Please learn this. If you care about your communities, if you care about your families, if you understand the death toll that we are experiencing in this country right now, do you understand that since single-payer healthcare, improved Medicare for all, was first introduced in 2003, at 300,000 people dying every year? How many people is that to this day since we didn't pass it in 2003? At what point is it going to be enough? At what point will enough people have died before people will act? So I need everyone here to share this video. I need everyone here to share the videos of Real Progressives and Steve Grumbine, Warren Mosler, Stephanie Kelton, please, Deficit Owls, Jeff Epstein, please, please, please. Do everything in your power to educate as many people as you can. Engage your Congress people. When they tell you we can't afford it, tell them, fuck you. I know we can. How dare you tell us that we can't? How dare you look into the eyes of your constituents and say, I would save you, but unfortunately, I don't care about you. Because if I did, I would learn this. If I did care about you, I would make it my top priority to learn this. To save lives, not save a few lives, save everyone. Save everyone that will die needlessly. Of course, people will die. That's life. But needlessly, for greed, in the hundreds of thousands, unacceptable. Learn this. You want to run for Congress? You learn this. You're in Congress? You goddamn better crack a book. No more. I've had it to here with those who don't do the hard work. So do it. Save yourselves. Save your families. Save your communities. We can do this. I'll be back next week. Savage Joy is starting now. I love you guys. Good night.